to episode 5 of The Ingate, a mounted shooting 101 mini series designed to answer frequently asked questions for beginners and people looking to get into the sport. Today, my expert is Laura. Laura, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, of course. My name is Laura Smith. I'm a ladies level 5 in Central Missouri, and I am the executive director of the National Shooting Horse Association. And we've been shooting for probably a little over 20 years, and we've taught a lot of people and seem to have really found a niche in trying to promote the sport and get people involved.
Tell us about the National Shooting Horse Association.
Oh, I'd love to. Thanks, Chrissy. So this is an association that we started just simply to fill the gaps in the sport as we saw them and as they were communicated to us. It just feels like our national competition organizations do such a phenomenal job on so many different levels, but they can't do it all. So we see a lot of people still over the years that are confused on how to start. They really don't have a basis for how to get their horses going. It's a lot of confusion.
Mhm.
It's such a technical sport and it's very difficult to get into. So that's what we're trying to do.
Well, my question for you, and I think this is the perfect question for you, given your work with the National Shooting Horse Association, is how do I know I'm ready to sign up to compete in my first shoot?
That's a great question. We do see, I have to admit, a lot of people that just tend to sign up just a little bit early. And that's not because they're reckless, it's just because they're excited, and I get it.
Yeah.
But that is where a lot of horses tend to get lost. So it's really important to factor in how the full picture here. You're not going to ride the same at a shoot as you do at home.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah,
Absolutely not.
and sometimes that's difficult for a new shooter to factor in. They're like, my horse
Mhm.
is doing great. He's doing practice as well, and he's handling the gunfire, and he's working well in the patterns. And but so your nerves and the pressure that you're putting on him and the adrenaline, it matters more than people think. And so, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you hate to tell people you're not lacking in talent, you're not lacking in speed. It's just maybe a lack of exposure or unaccounted for pressure. So, really, the things that we look for is that your horses are staying really quiet in different environments, especially. That seems really critical. It's difficult for horses um, to come into a shoot with all of the added pressure and hold it together sometimes.
Mhm.
So we're really looking for a consistency and a predictability and that they're mentally stable at everywhere, at home, hauled somewhere else under pressure. And so we like to tell new shooters that we kind of have an exposure checklist that we do with them. And we say before competing, your horse they should haul really well. They should handle new places. They should handle gunfire in different environments, which is really important. And here's a really big one, Chrissy, that I think is kind of our sticking point is that horses are recovering well after the sessions. A lot of
Mm.
horses can run a pattern or a couple patterns and they'll hold it together for you. They're kind of masking. And
Mhm.
then, maybe the second day of the shoot, they just completely fall apart. So
Mhm.
it's really important to watch your horses. If you run a pattern on them or two, and then they're a little timid or spooky or just don't feel as connected with you, later on that day or the next day, that's usually a sign that your horse isn't quite ready to compete.
Yeah, and I've seen that before for sure. When horses are absolutely great, their very first stage of their very first shoot, they go in, they're confident. The rider feels like, yes, we're so ready. And everyone looking on also agrees, like, wow, that horse is doing great. And then
Yeah.
second stage or third stage, it suddenly blows up, and then the rider has to go back, right back to the beginning again and almost start the horse all over to get them to go back into the arena and be okay with the gunfire.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a that's exactly I'd say that's exactly accurate of what we have seen too over the years. And so I'd say my core message is just that just keep in mind, or at least this is what we tell ourselves with our young horses. Most people don't fail because they waited too long. They fail because they rushed it.
Hmm.
And, it's a really hard thing because you're so close and it's just going to take a little more work. And it's so difficult for people to read and to know. So, if people can, we really recommend they get them to a practice and do several stages at a time before entering that first shoot. But yeah, lack of exposure and unaccounted for pressure sometimes just dissolves their little poor little brains.
Yeah, agreed. And ours too. And let me give you an example of something. And I'm a relatively seasoned shooter at this point. I still consider myself a beginner, but beginner compared to many of the people who've been shooting a long time. But I'm still relatively seasoned. This past weekend, this just shows how your brain can leave your body in the middle of a stage. I was sitting in the loading zone, ready to go in to a stage I had done before. It was a pattern I had done before. The last time I did this pattern, I holstered my gun after balloon 4, forgetting about balloon 5, just because of the way the pattern is set up. You
Yeah,
feel like you've done the random pattern and you feel like you're heading for the barrel, because you are. But there's another balloon on the left-hand
right.
side. Well, while I was in the loading zone, I said to the person next to me, whatever you do, don't holster your gun after the fourth balloon because there's a fifth balloon. So, Laura, what do you think I did after the fourth balloon on my stage?
You, you did what any of us would have, Chrissy.
I holstered
Because you
my
had just
gun.
said, I don't holster your gun. So your brain went, oh, I should holster my gun right now.
Right. And
Oh my
so there it
gosh.
was. I holstered, I had to, and then I'd already unholstered the other one. So I had to put that one back and get that one
Yeah.
out again and
Yeah.
did a turn and got the balloon. But I say
Oh,
all
you
that
still
to
got it.
say,
That's great.
I got it. I was clean. But I say all that to say that, having done this quite a lot, I still have those brain fart moments. So people who are brand new to the sport really need to account for, even if the human, are super confident at practice, the wheels might fall off the bus a little bit as they go into the arena and the nerves kick in, or the anxiety or the excitement. And therefore, they maybe need to slow down on where they're at before they begin competing to make sure that they're fully safe and ready to do the thing.
That's so well put too. Yes. And I've been talking to JD Casperson a little bit about his clinics, and we're trying to get him here to Missouri for one. And I know, at least from what I've gathered, most of his clinics are based on, kind of muscle memory and just how important it is to train correctly. Because that's, yeah, exactly. As you said, the wheels fall off. And sometimes you can't account for that, as much training
Yeah.
as we do, it still happens. So you can imagine when that happens to new competitors, it's a bad
Right.
feeling. And you can imagine horses are tuning forks, for the most part. Like they're feeling everything we're doing. And it's, I can't imagine how that must feel to a prey animal that we're the leader for when they're like,
Mhm.
they have no idea what's going on up there. Like the wheels just fell off and they know it immediately. So yeah, that's a really important point.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. This has been super helpful, answered a really important question, I think, because I think a lot of people don't really know when they should start competing.
It's tough. It's tough for all of us, even those of us that have been shooting for a while and are starting new horses. Sometimes it's just one of those things, and highly recommend if you have an experienced set of eyes. I think that's the great thing about the sport. Just ask someone. There's going to be somebody there that is thinking, hey, I don't think that horse might be quite ready, but it's just I'd say the closing point is the goal isn't to get to your first shoot really quickly. It's to get there with a horse that's ready to stay in the sport.